Pivot on your good foot. When I was in college, I was part of an evangelistic team. I was not the team comedian. Now there's a concept. Thank you for that inspired rendition of Amazing Grace. And now, a few witty excise blurs to warm you up for the preacher's message. Take it away, Brother Lowry. I was the singer. Another guy was the preacher. Another guy was the piano player. And another was the driver. That's right, the driver. Any college evangelical team roaming the countryside every weekend needed a driver. Our preacher guy would lay out a map and put a yardstick to it. If a town landed inside that straight line, he was convinced we could drive in a weekend and get back to classes Monday morning without breaking land speed records. So, the driver position was an important position. And like Greyhound, we left the driving to him. All of it. Hey, the driver drove. The preacher preached. The singer sang. And the piano player, well, he had to rest those fingers. So, we couldn't relieve the driver. We were supposed to sleep. That was our job. And his was to drive that van all over creation. When we first got started, a man in Michigan offered to customize the van to fit our traveling needs. What do you guys want? He asked. Well, we held and came up with a single most important ingredient for our weekend life on the road. We want a bed in the back, we agreed. A big bed. A bed big enough for 3 guys to sleep without touching each other. We all agreed that last part was very important. So, he customized the van with a big bed in the back and a place to store all our sound equipment and stuff underneath. And we hit the road. One weekend in March, we were booked all the way up in New York. So on Thursday, March 17th, we left at midnight. Jockeying for position was an essential talent when it came to sleeping in a bed with 3 guys on the road. Jockeying and timing. See, you don't want to sleep in the middle. We're talking guys, sweat hogs. And nobody, after a few close encounters of the 3 guy kind, wanted to sleep in the middle. If you got stuck in like a tuna and a sandwich, you had dragon breath on one side, body odor on the other. I figured out a way to be sure I wasn't the tuna. My secret was this: get there early, pick a side, crawl into my sleeping bag, and start sawing giant redwood logs. At the time our driver Dick had us rolling, the middle dilemma was a done deal, and that's what happened that night. Dave, the piano player, was in the middle. Charles and the preacher was on the other side, and me, I was happily snoring away on my side as we drove through the night toward New York. By 5:30 in the morning, we had made it to Carlisle, Pennsylvania. That's right. Dick, the driver, had been driving 5.5 hours straight through the dead of night. Yes, Charles, Dave, and I were asleep in the back, and Dick was asleep at the wheel. When you've got your head laying on the dashboard, you're pretty much lost the fight with the Sandman. Well, that van was flying all over the interstate. We hit the median, we hit the guardrail, my sleeping bag was rolling itself up by the time my brain got the message from the rest of my body that something dangerous was happening. And now I come back to full consciousness to check it out. When I did, I woke up screaming, "Wake up, Dick!" Dick jerked, which meant the van jerked. We went spinning around, bopping the median, then the guardrail, then the median again, all the way up a hill and down the other side. Whoa. I was thinking, I should have let the man sleep. Finally, we screeched and shimmied to a landing at the bottom of the hill, broadside across 2 lanes of the highway, in one piece. Thank God this is over, I remember gasping. But at that exact moment, an 18-wheeler topped the hill going 70 miles an hour and came roaring down to play tag with our van. When an 18-wheeler plays tag with your van, you know you're going to be it. Next thing I knew, there was the biggest, ugliest woman I ever saw in my life towering over me, staring into my face. That lady flossed with rope. I mean, that woman was big, 8'3" if she was a speck. My soul, how did that get in her van? I was thinking. Then she leaned closer and looked very much like she was about to perform mouth-to-mouth resuscitation on me. And I wanted her to know that was not necessary. I cried out. Translation, I'm awake and breathing fine. You're in the emergency room, she begged to differ. How you feel? I need a chiropractor, I told her. You don't need a chiropractor, she begged to differ again. Then I need my mama, I said. My mama will get me a chiropractor, and I fainted. When I woke up, I felt something funny going on with my left leg. I looked up, a doctor was messing with it. What are you doing? I squeaked out. We're saying your leg. As I was passing out again, I remember thinking, what do you know? I finally got a broken leg. I always wanted one. One of my childhood desires was to have a broken leg. My brother broke an arm or a leg just about every summer, and the girl was assigned his cast, which I thought was cool. When I woke up again, the doctor said, you got 10 broken bones. Ha! I thought, when the kid does it, he does it right. Then the doctor proceeded to give me a rundown. He started ticking them off. My right pelvis was broken, all of my ribs on my right side were broken, my collarbone was broken, and I broke 2 bones just in my left leg. They didn't need an x-ray to figure out that leg. When you got 2 knees on one leg, that sucker's broken. And up when you got 10 bones. The morning after the crash, I got what was called fatty embolisms, which has nothing to do with good old greasy burgers and fries, let me tell you. When you break lots of bones, fat drops in your blood system and forms clots, which unfortunately cuts off the oxygen supply to your brain and you go out of your mind. Which in my case was very hard to detect. The doctor actually told my mother I was so bad I'd die within 45 days or be mentally retarded. Okay, Mrs. Lowry, your choices are die within 45 days, be mentally retarded, or be out of his mind. The winner is, well, I didn't die. But you can imagine the eyes on me when I woke up the next day and heard my first words, and my second, and my third, and you get the picture. After 3 days, though, they'd had enough of my laziness. It was time for physical therapy. I'd never been in physical therapy. It sounded kind of fun. Thought maybe all of us inmates got together and played games of Monopoly or exercised our hands with little rubber balls and synchronized routines, finishing off with cookies and punch. Yes, sir, I thought, physical therapy. We're going to have fun. A candy striper came into my room, pushing a wheelchair. She was cute as a bug. Blonde hair, my age, 19, blue eyes, and a Pepsodent grin that left the room like it came with batteries. This girl would make a bulldog break his chain. She was so cute. Hi, Mark. Today I'm going to take you to physical therapy, she bubbled. Well, let's go. Never mind the cast down one side of my body and up the other. I slid in that chair as agile and cool as you please, or so I had pictured. Truth was, it looked more like a white plaster cannon coming down the hall. My left leg's ass was so big and straight. But I didn't have a clue. We were having a great time, that girl and I, chatting away. And all the while I'm thinking, she's my physical therapist, and boy, are we going to have fun. But then she wheeled me into a colorful room and disappeared. And guess who was waiting for me? That's right. The nurse that flossed with rope. She wasn't so much ugly as mean, and I found out which was worse. She didn't even introduce herself, but I knew her name. Her name was Attila the Hun in orthopedic pumps. She marched over to me and announced, "Today I'm going to teach you how to stand up." Big deal, I thought. I'd done that before. But I'd never done it after freaking 10 bones in my body. I stood up, and all the blood in my body sat back down. Every little white and red corpuscle looked at each other and said, "Hey, let's all go to his left foot. 1, 2, 3, whee!" The blood kept draining into my foot until my toes looked like low overdone Jimmy Dean sausages. "Ma'am," I howled, "I gotta sit down." Well, then she snapped, "Sit down." And that was it for the first day. When the cute candy stripper came rolling that wheelchair into my room the next day, it wasn't quite the same. She wheeled me into that colorful room and disappeared all over again, and Attila was waiting for me. She walked over in those orthopedic pumps and repeated word for word like she'd punched the same tape from the day before. "Today I'm going to teach you how to walk." Oh my soul, I thought. I'm probably going to have to stand up to do that, I asked. She whipped around to the back of the wheelchair and wheeled me straight over to the parallel bars, the kind those tiny limber people win Olympic medals twirling and whirling all over. Somehow, I got myself up, holding those bars, and when I looked back at Attila, I knew she was not going to let me go back to my room until I walked. So somehow I made it to the end of those bars, and when I got down there, she said, "Put on your good foot and walk back to me." But I started, "Put on your good foot, walk back to me. Put on your good foot, walk back to me." She kept repeating, "But put on your good foot, walk back to me. Put on your good foot, walk back to me. Put." So I put all my weight on my good foot and got right off it, quick. Oh, ma'am, my good foot sure does hurt," I moaned. She looked at me real persnickety, face all pruned up, and said, "We actually haven't hit the tower. It hasn't even broken to take care of, so Perry and Giff will walk back to me." You know, those Yankees can talk real fast. "We have raised you from head to tower, and it's broken to take care of, so Perry and Giff will walk back to me." So I pivoted and somehow managed to make it to the end of those bars, and guess what she said? "Perry and Giff walked back to me again." "Ma'am, oh ma'am, my good foot's got to be at least sprained." "I told you," she said, persnickety turned up an extra notch. "We actually hit the toe. It's been broken, been taken care of, so Perry and Giff walk back to me." "Hey," I thought, looking around desperately, "where's everybody else, huh? Where's that Monopoly board, those little rubber balls, those cookies? Help me, somebody!" But it was just me, Attila the nurse, and this one old lady on a stretcher. You know what her physical therapy was? They tilted her up a little bit each day. That was it. That's all they did to her. And during the entire time, The 3 whole days I was there, this is what I heard coming from her stretcher. "Oh Lord, take me home. Oh Lord, take me home. Oh Lord, take me home." After hearing that for 3 days, I started praying, "Oh Lord, take her home." I knew she'd be a lot better off at home. After 2 days of pivoting on my good foot, I figured I'd faint dead away if I had to do it anymore. I begged not to go, and I could beg, I tell you. But I went, and on the 3rd day of physical therapy, Attila handed me some crutches. "Today," she announced, "I'm going to teach you how to climb steps." Oh, joy of all joys, I thought. She wheeled me over to these 3 little steps, stuck one of the crutches under my left arm, stuck the other under my broken collarbone, popping my broken ribs, assing my broken pelvis, landing up next to my good foot, and said, "Now climb to the top of those steps." I dragged that cast up to the top of those steps, and when I finally got to the top, guess what she said? "Period, good foot, walk back to me." "Ma'am," I said, "I don't own a good foot. You got one I can borrow, then I'll pivot." By this time, I could say it with her. "We actually gave me a set toes. They were broken, but taken care of, so pay a good foot, walk back to me." Next day, my parents flew me home to Houston, and it took 4 first-class seats to get me there. I was sprawled out across every one of them, which meant I got 4 first-class meals. I ate all of them as for seconds. I've been eating hospital food. And when you've been eating hospital food, sugar, you don't brush your teeth afterwards, you count them. Back in Houston, Daddy took me to the best bone specialist in town. I was awake for this x-ray section this time. Wide awake. The kind of awake you get when someone pops a piece of ice down your back. Medical science is a wonderful thing, but they haven't yet learned how to warm an x-ray table. They put me in that backless gown where the wind blows free. You may break every bone in your body, but you better have one good hand left to keep that gown together, or you're going to be showing the world something it doesn't care to see. Then they wheeled me into the x-ray room and plopped me down on the cold steel table. I told the nurse, "It's so cold in this room, you could hang meat in here." She said, "I know, you're it." They put me in positions I didn't know I could get into, and I'll never forget what happened next. The doctor, the best bone specialist in Houston, came in, x-rays in hand. He was clicking like a clock, tisking all the way to where I waited. Mark, 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 Mark. What? I finally yelped. "Mark, your right ankle is also broken. Their x-rays missed it. I have to put it in a cast, and you can't put any weight on it for 3 months or I'll have to operate. You know that little knob on your foot? My ankle on my good foot above that little knob was broken clear through. And the only thing going through my mind was that old heifer saying, 'We actually meant to tell her that it's been broken, we can't get care of us. There we go, walk back to me.'" Life can change in a snap. And I'm here to tell you every bone in your body can snap in a snap too. We were all a mess, but we survived, even Dick the driver. Charles the preacher was in a coma for a while, and Dave, the one in the middle, who was beaten up pretty badly but didn't break a thing. There's a moral there somewhere. But nothing would ever be the same for us. Why do you think God let that wreck happen? People were always asking me that. I thought about that a lot. I started asking the question lying in my hospital bed. I said, Lord, we've got 90 youth rallies booked for this summer, and now our preacher's in a coma. What are we going to do? Prop him up and play tape? After several years of pondering, I finally figured out why God let it happen. We had that wreck because our driver fell asleep. That's why. We broke a simple physical law set up by God himself. You fall asleep at the wheel, you've got problems. And mere mortals don't ever break God's laws. God's laws break them. If Billy Graham jumped out of the Empire State Building, Billy Graham's still going to splat when he hits the pavement. And I know something else now too. Do you know why the driver fell asleep? Because he was driving a bunch of prima donnas around, that's why. No one wanted to relieve the driver. And if we helped out one night, he might expect it every night, and excuse me, my job was to sing. Forget that common sense alone would have gotten one of us up there to get the guy arrested for safety's sake. We had our pride. Prima donnas on the road for the Lord who was himself a servant. He washed the disciples' dirty feet. He could have spoken the word, and Peter would have had a pedicure. But he was showing us how to serve each other. So why did God let it happen? Because we let it happen.